Hi, welcome back to This is 40. And on this episode, I'm titling it Building Stronger Connections After 40. This is something that I'm working on myself, and I really want to improve my ability to have tighter bonds, spend better time, be more grateful for the time that I do have, and focus on those positive outcomes and how I can achieve that by my behavior, the choices I make. I came across this quote this week from a guy named Brad Stolberg. I'm going to read it to you. And it really hit home with me with what I'm working on, so I just wanted to share it. So everyone is looking for a shortcut, secret, or way to optimize. It's human nature, but eventually you realize no such thing exists. Even if it did, you wouldn't really want it because all the good stuff, the meaning and growth and relationships, is forged on the long and windy path. Excellence and greatness is not a destination, it's a process of becoming. I really feel that the time we live in now, and when you're younger, you're kind of just going so fast, you're just moving. It's like this hurry up and wait. And then there's this desperation that success looks a certain way, and when you don't get it, you kind of beat yourself up. And this point in my life, I am trying to be more aware of the time that I have. I was having this conversation with this guy I came across, and he was talking about he thought that the greatest gift in life is the gift of time. And when he said that, I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful. He was saying, if you think about it, the time that you're gifted, you can do all the things that you're trying to accomplish. You can love, you can care for, you can build something, you can start a business, you can do all these things. And without it, you can't do any of that stuff. So when he said that, it really kind of struck a chord. One of the first things I'm going to talk about that I'm working on is just reevaluating my needs. I started going to a therapist. I felt like it was time for me to really focus on how I can address some of the things that are coming up, some of the frustrations, some of the things that may be lurking in the shadows, how I can improve things that I'm good at, maybe even understand why or the core of why these things are occurring. And I feel like it's a good step for me to take at this point in my life. I want to improve, and I don't know if that's because of my age and circumstance, but I want to have an open mind and open arms and really not be afraid to be vulnerable and to be embarrassed. My main goal is to make positive changes, and there's only one way to do it, and that's why that quote stuck out so much, because it isn't a short path. It's a long, windy road. There's going to be twists and turns, and the journey is like the fun. The journey is like what makes it so special. One of the things that I'm focusing on is prioritizing my time. I need to make use of the time I have. So one of the things I struggle with is I get distracted really easy. I lose my focus. I poorly planned those moments. I'm always reacting, and I'm trying to get ahead of it and really approach it in a proactive way where my time in the things I do has more action to it. And so realizing and being grateful of the time that I have and realizing that it's not too late. The second thing I really want to try to focus on and enhance is respect, the respect I give to others, my wife, my kids, my coworkers, and also in return, the respect I get back. So I feel like the respect I give correlates to the respect I get. How can I demand this thing when I myself am not giving that thing right back? It's like a reciprocation thing. The third thing I'm trying to focus on is my boundaries. And by that, what I mean is really not feeling guilt. And I feel like the way that I achieve that is by forgiving myself, like allowing myself to not feel bad for wanting something, or not feel bad for realizing a strength or weakness. It is what it is. It's something that is taking time, and you're shaping who you are. You're becoming who you are. And for me, sometimes I'm hard on myself, and I feel attacked, and I feel I need to defend myself, and I feel like that's what I resort to. And there's a difference between facing your problems effectively and respectfully, and facing your problems where you're like in this fight mode and you're defensive, and it just doesn't result in anything, in any good outcome. The next thing I wanted to talk about, and what I'm focusing on myself, is just communicating effectively. And what I'm trying to do differently is to try to ask more questions. So I'm trying to ask my wife, how can I help you? What will, out of today, like what will help you the most? So I have these list of things that I have in mind, but what will help you today? What will help you this week? And at work, I'm trying to be more mindful in prioritizing my tasks. And also for me, I'm very easily distracted. I lose my focus. It happens all the time. So for me, one thing I really want to focus on is not only prioritizing my time, but also within that time, when I have a task, I don't move on to the next task until that task is done. I found that when I do that, I'm managing my focus, accomplishing the tasks, the moments, and then in doing so, I feel better about myself, and I get those wins, and then I move on, and then I can kind of build a rhythm. But without that, that's when I start to feel out of whack. That's when I'm more likely to be defensive. That's when I'm more likely to be in that fight mode that I'm talking about. And so I really want to check in more with my wife, with my coworkers, with my friends, and just express that I'm either thinking about them, or I miss them, or I would love to spend some time. And I also want to acknowledge where I have those problematic areas, those weaknesses, and give myself grace to understand that it's okay. If someone's mad at me, it doesn't mean that they hate me. They still love me, but maybe just in that moment, there's some disappointment, or there's something that we can work on together. And it is this process that is ongoing. It is a process that requires time, that might require solutions that I don't have, but with other folks, with other people in those situations, we can find a solution. The other thing that I'm working on is active listening. So I'm trying to realize that my listening needs to require an active process. So when I am engaging with another person, especially my wife or a coworker, I need to not only just listen with my ears, but listen with my body. Am I being distracted by my phone? Am I being distracted with something auxiliary, like a bird flying by or a dog barking? I need to be mindful of just like my breath and my presence. And I think that'll help me be a better listener. I also, within that listening, is trying to have some empathy, trying to put myself in someone else's shoes and try to remind myself that I would be bothered, I would be offended if I were in that person's shoes, and the person myself was ignoring them or dismissing them. The other thing that I am trying to do is just realize that I don't have control over the things, the people, the places in my life. And the more I realize that, and the less I try to control things, I can kind of like let go and have that weight lifted off my shoulders. And I feel like a lot of my problems, or a lot of the things that are what I perceive to be misfortunes, are like my own desire or need to control something. And at this point in my life, I want to let go of those things so that I can feel kind of liberated, and then I can focus on the things that I do want to work on. And the last thing that I'm doing this week is just making a list of strengths and weaknesses. I've been asking a couple people that I trust, my wife most importantly, just what do you think my strengths and weaknesses are? And I'm choosing one weakness, which is the prioritizing time, and trying to really make a plan on how I can address that in an effective way. And so a lot of the things I just kind of talked over are part of that process. So that's where I'm at. I know it might be a little lengthy, but I hope that one of you can identify with that and even reach out. Or I love hearing feedback. I have some feedback from the last video that it was helpful, or it was just kind of cool to see. And that's my purpose, the purpose in creating this channel. And I also am appreciating this platform because it's making me think about what I'm doing. It's slowing me down. So I'm trying to gather my thoughts and gather my process and gather all the information I'm kind of going through, and I'm trying to apply it and hopefully make positive changes. I will see you next week. I'll try to make another episode on something that I feel like I'm working on, and I hope to continue going on and doing this. Thank you.